POV, it's Public Beta Test 2 of Terminull Brigade. You've had 2 days to mess around with 3 fun characters and push for harder content. You're finally getting a build for your weapon damage based blade, and it feels like you can keep up with the top of the leaderboard. Little do you know, the meta for this test is about to be flipped on its head, and the test completely imbalanced. All because of one thing. Gloria. So, how did one character break the meta of an entire test? Well, let's go over what makes Gloria so goddamn game-breaking, starting with her kit.
Let's get scratching.
As a solo player, Gloria has a fairly underwhelming passive. Brilliant Inventor. Basically, if you're playing in a team and one of your teammates dies from thinking that enemy projectiles heal them or something, you can send a drone to res them instead of having to walk over to res them yourself. It can be helpful, but again, if you run Terminull Brigade solo, it's completely useless to you. The same cannot be said about Gloria's minor skill, Bread Machine. It reads as follows. Summon a toaster that periodically spawns bread to restore the shields for allies. Each toaster lasts up to 32 seconds, and at most one can exist on the field simultaneously. It upgrades automatically, increasing its restoration speed, range, and max shield. When placed, it grants Gloria a 100% of her max shield as temporary shield. Basically, if you throw down this, it will give you so much temporary shielding that it becomes really hard to die, as long as you actually try to dodge stuff and don't just stand still. Next up is her primary skill, Attack Turret. Summon an Attack Turret. Each turret lasts up to 20 seconds, and at most 2 can exist on field simultaneously. Turrets prioritize enemies hit by Gloria's over-the-shoulder mode. Using another primary skill on an existing attack turret can upgrade the turret, doubling its fire rate. You can also use more of your primary skill on an upgraded turret to extend that turret's on-field duration. This is a big source of damage, except if you don't know what you're doing, it can feel incredibly weak. These attack turrets can also proc separate instances of your primary perk per additional turret, making a primary perk the strongest increase to base damage in a run. Finally, we get to Gloria's ultimate, Bomb Buddies. On use, Gloria launches 5 missiles at nearby enemies. If you have toasters or turrets on field when you activate your ultimate, Gloria disassembles them and converts them into 3 additional missiles each. Each disassembled summon leaves behind different components. Toasters give a defense component, which gives you an overshield equal to 20% of your max health plus 100 for 10 seconds. And attack turrets give you a final damage increase of 25% for 8 seconds, which is absolutely insane. The downside is that you need to reconstruct your turrets immediately after you use your ultimate to let them get all those nice damage bonuses. However, your damage is kinda dependent on equipping the right weapon. So let's go over Gloria's 2 different weapons and explain why one of them is so crazy strong, like holy shit. Gloria's starter weapon, named Sweetheart, is actually relatively interesting. Its alt fire is what really brings a unique playstyle that no other character has. That alt fire is as follows. Upon right-clicking, start to store a spare round every 0.5 seconds in alt fire mode. On next primary fire shot, consume all spare rounds and increase weapon damage by 75% for each spare round consumed. Up to 5 spare rounds can be stored and consumed for a maximum increase of 375% weapon damage. This can lead to an interesting sniper-esque playstyle where you don't hit often, but when you do, you hit hard. Sadly, this game is a wave-based shooter, so you don't really ever get enough space to actually be able to play like this, but it's interesting. Sweetheart also has a passive called Turrets Galore, which just gives you an extra charge of your primary skill. Again, this is nowhere close to the insanity of her other weapon, Fighting Bear, but it is a relatively interesting weapon. Speaking of Fighting Bear. In Fighting Bear's over-the-shoulder mode, when you hit an enemy, you will cause all of your summons to attack an enemy, regardless of its attack cooldown. If you kill an enemy with one of these shots, your shots will jump to a nearby enemy with a 100% crit chance. For some reason, all of your shots in over-the-shoulder mode no longer count as weapon damage, but instead count as 100% primary damage. And you gain an additional 33% primary damage per shot for each summon. What is a summon? For each summon and QB on the field. What this means is that for some goddamn reason, your shots in this mode scale off both skill and weapon power. Like, how the fuck is that balanced? But Shadow, I hear you think, because I live in your skull. Jesus Christ, this is like the one script that I wrote not at 3 a.m. and I'm somehow more unhinged. Oh, I'm sorry. Surely, there isn't more out-of-run synergies that make this build even fucking stronger. Well, do I have a surprise for you? Okay, I realized that in my Blade guide, I totally neglected showing Blade's proficiency. But I had to talk about Gloria's Prof tree because it scales this build so much harder. Starting with her Prof 2 and Prof 8 upgrades, it's just an extra of 50 max shield, which is nice, but nothing all that crazy. Of course, her Proficiency 3 is fighting Bear, which I already explained how insane that is. Proficiency 4 is just more overshield when you use the bread machine, and I'm going to brush over Proficiency 5, 7, and 9 in this section because they're all potentials that scale really well for this build. That leaves us with her Proficiency 6 and Proficiency 10 upgrades. Her 6 is actually a nice boost in turret survivability, bringing them from 3 health to 4 for attack turrets, and your bread machine from 4 health to 5. However, the single most insane buff to this build comes from her Proficiency 10. Increase attack turret on-field cap by 1. This means you have an extra 50% more on-field turrets dealing damage and boosting your own damage. It's absolutely insane. Okay, let's quickly do a quick combat terminal breakdown before we get into the real meat and potatoes of what insane potential Gloria has. Okay, I'm gonna keep this section short and sweet. For your world types, you want both 9 teal and 9 orange to max out the potential for shot damage. Sprinkle in a little bit of power-based modules of your taste and move on. For substats, you want anything that says skill in it, so that means stats like skill crit rate, skill crit damage, straight up skill damage, and skill charge rate are all fairly good here. However, if there's one stat that makes this build go absolutely bonkers, it's her primary skill damage. You should grab skill power and power cores if you're at that stage of the game, as well as just more stats equals more damage. And that's the basics of what you should be looking for in a Gloria build. Alright, let's talk about what perks you should be looking for to make an absolutely insane build. I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. This section drove me insane during testing, as it feels like I can get a build working on almost any arbiter. Nothing feels weak in the slightest, and it's making really hard to write a script for this section. Okay, mild crash out over. Like I said, it was incredibly hard to try to pick a specific build for this section, so instead I'm going to share general tips for each version of a build that can feel stupidly strong, and then you can enjoy pretty much any run you play as Gloria. For starters, no matter what build you are running, you always want to find the perk of the path that affects your primary. From there, you can build around that perk and basically guarantee an insanely strong run. Okay, for the rest of the section, I'm going to go fairly quick, as if I named every single perk I'm going to show here by name, we'd be here for another 2 hours. First off, in any run, regardless of what arbiter is your main damage, these are really good passive perks to help boost you throughout the run. Next, I'm going to make some graphics to give you general info for the 5 arbiters that I found to be the most successful for this type of build. Enjoy. Okay, Now that you have a general idea of what you want to be going for when running these different arbiters, let's take a look at the myriad of different potentials that you could run that makes these builds even stronger. I will also be going kind of quick in this section, as there are a lot of potentials that work really well with these builds. So if you're feeling left behind, feel free to stop the video to read each individual potential as it comes up on screen. Ready? Let's go. For starters, I wanted to wrap back around to the different proficiency perks I glossed over earlier in the video. Those are Face First and Electric Riot. Face First is good because you'll be able to aim towards weak parts in over-the-shoulder mode, which means that the beams from your summons also hit weak part damage, and can be a crazy good increase. Electric Riot just allows you to occasionally deal a massive burst of damage randomly, and here's some other perks that work really well for this build. Going in no particular order or explanation, we have All Hands on Deck, Take Over For Me, Skill Amplification, depending on the build, Arbiter Power can also work, Friendly Backup, and Confident. I hope you all enjoyed this video, as my suffering turns into your entertainment. If you did enjoy the video, allow me a brief moment to do the YouTuber thing and beg for a like and subscription. What character should I make a guide for next? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I will catch you all in the next one.